Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this month's Instant Insight webinar. Today we have a very special webinar topic, geek gift giving. Say that 3 times fast. We are joined today with David Lover and Kristen Walker, two of our AeroSI self-proclaimed geeks. They're here to share with you their topic picks for geeky gifts. It's a little different for us, but we wanted to have a fun end to 2016. And here at AeroSI, we're actually getting into the giving mood. So today we're actually giving away 2 brand new Amazon Echo Dots. For those of you who don't know what they are, we'll be talking about them in just a bit. So we will select 2 attendees at random to be the honored recipients. We will contact you within the next few days to share the news if you are a winner. So now to the webinar. As we go through the presentation, if you have a question, you have the option to chat us in the question box, and we will try to get to as many questions as possible. Please note we will be sending out the recording of today's presentation. And with that said, I'm going to hand the line over to Dave.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a fun topic. The way this started, I think it was like either 2008, 2009. I just kept getting, you call me a self-proclaimed geek. I didn't think of myself as a geek until everyone else on the planet told me I was a geek. And they'd come to me saying, hey, I've got this geek that I need to buy a gift for. What do you recommend? Because I was always the guy buying the gadgets. I was always the guy buying just the geek stuff. And so it got to a point where, I should just put a list together. So I started this holiday geek gift giving guide. It's been about 8 years now, and we just kept doing it. Well, this year, like Kelly had mentioned, we were thinking, well, we should do this maybe as a webinar because we have enough people that this guide gets leaked to, and so why don't we just make it a public thing? So we thought that'd be fun. And with me is Kristen Walker, and Kristen works in our marketing team, and she's one of the few people that doesn't, when I come and say, oh, look what I just got, this is really, really cool, everybody else looks at me like, oh my God, you are such a geek. And Kristen's like, oh, I already have one of those. And so we kind of bonded over our geekitude. So I asked Kristen to join us, and she's got a very different perspective on what geeks like and that kind of thing. A couple of the general rules of this, either Kristen or I, or in a lot of cases, both of us own these things. So it's not like we're, just making stuff up and, just scouring other people's lists and compiling them. This is stuff that we actually own. So if you do have questions about it, boy, let us know. We don't sell any of these things that we are talking about, so there's no financial benefit for us doing this. But in that spirit, I should at least let you know what Kristen and I do for a living. Right? We work at Aero Systems Integration, which is a sub kind of business unit within Aero Electronics. Aero Electronics is this huge company based out of Denver, Colorado, that does everything from global components like resistors, transistors, chips, processors, everything you could possibly imagine. In the electronics world, we distribute those to manufacturers who build stuff. We have another organization called the Aero IS, or Intelligent Systems, that actually builds some of those things. So for customers that say, boy, I need a kiosk, can you build that for me? Or hey, the Sam car is part of that. You might have seen a lot of our promotional stuff with Sam Schmidt. We have an ECS organization, Enterprise Computing Solutions, which is everything you'd find in a data center. Aero is actually the largest distributor of VMware globally. So we live data center. So every possible product from Nutanix to HP to NetApp to EMC, you name it, we're big in that space. AeroSI is all about unified communications, collaboration, contact center, services. Our business unit actually does services for Aero globally. And so anything that requires support, technical support, either for resellers or for customers, tends to come through us. And then the last one is our value recovery, which is things that, once a server dies or you need to dispose of equipment, we do that globally. So there's a number of very big companies, I won't name names, that use us as their primary source for ethically and environmentally and securely disposing of equipment. So that's the only advertisement I'm going to give for you today. And so with that, let's talk a little bit about the Geek Gift Giving Guide. Kristen, when we talk about this, right? You've got rules. Buying for a geek is not the easiest thing on the planet, right? There's some guidelines.
Very true, very true.
Right? I mean, the reality is we're kind of picky, right? We're this idea of the thought that counts. We're like, oh, great, thank you for this 2 gigabyte USB thumb drive. I'm going to throw it away, right? I don't really care. So what are some things that you think of when you're buying for a geek, or when you wish people would think of you when they're buying for you?
I think one of the biggest things that I've had, kind of like you were saying, personally happen is people love great deals, especially around the holidays, the Black Friday deals, the Christmas deals. However, chances are the products that the geeks really want aren't necessarily the cheapest of the deals, so just because, to use your example, if USBs are on my list and that's what I asked for, and you found the one I asked for is, $40, and you found the $9.99 version, chances are that was its price for a reason.
So you kind of talk the cheap version of stuff. I think of that, in the knockoffs. Geeks hate knockoffs, right? We geeks are into the details, and they want the brands, right? They want in fact, they usually have something very specific picked out. And so the downside to going technical, as much as geeks love, like I would love if my wife bought me a solid-state hard drive. But chances are she's going to buy the wrong one, and nothing against her. I already researched what I want. I already have something in mind. So I always suggest, in those cases, maybe a trip to Fry's or Micro Center together is a great, loving way to buy something for your geek. The one is you'll be very cool because you'll probably have one of the few women in these places. I don't know about you, Kristen. You probably go to these, and you're probably one of the few women that go to Fry's or Micro Center or some of these kind of things.
Usually when I walk in, I get the, oh, can we help you? No, I'm good. I got this. I know what I'm looking for.
That's funny. The other thing that I think of geeks love is to be secretly cool, right? So I always think of the subtle gifts. I have one of the coolest T-shirts I got was Callahan Auto Parts in Sandusky, Ohio. Most normal human beings look at that and they're like, oh, that's interesting. Why is he wearing an auto parts shirt? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you not know Tommy Boy? But, all the hardcore people come up and they know. So you'll see a few of my gifts are related to very subtle, only fellow geeks are going to know this and recognize it. And you'll get the subtle high five from these people. So I always like doing that kind of stuff. But with that, why don't we start Kristen, I think you're up first. So why don't you tell us what one of your picks are?
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. Well, I think it's an honor to be a geek on Dave's level here in this webinar. I think it's an honor. I'm pretty sure. So like Dave said, we kind of each have a different take on this. I am big into if there is a gadget that can make my life easier, I have to have it. So one of the big things my husband actually gives me a lot of grief for is if there is an app that can do something for me, I'm going to use the app. Yes, I could use my TV remote, or yes, I could use my light switch, but why if there's an app that does it? So one of the big things I do is I store all of my recipes and then also have my shopping list on an app on my phone and on my iPad and on all of my devices that syncs. The problem with that being is usually if I'm in the kitchen cooking, you've got things spilling, you've got things splattering, you've got messy hands, and having, a probably fairly expensive device sitting there next to you can be kind of problematic. So one of the things I got is this Belkin kitchen stand. I love it because it not only holds my iPad up so I can see it and I'm not, having to lean over it on my counter all the time, but it also comes with a wand stylus so that I don't actually have to touch my iPad screen with, my goopy hands from cooking. So I can actually use the stylus instead, and then at the end I can put the whole stylus and everything right in the dishwasher and clean it. So that's been a super big help for me. We did notice, though, when doing some research, that the Belkin version seems to be hard to find. I got mine, I think, 2 years ago, so I think that they're possibly discontinuing the model that I got, and so like Dave said, these are all products we use. So I use the Belkin one, but I did also find this alternative one by, I think it's Prepara, that looks very similar. I haven't tested that one out, but it had great reviews. So in case you weren't able to find the Belkin one, there is an alternative there for you. So this has been a huge lifesaver for me in the sense of trying to use apps as much as humanly possible.
Awesome. So the next one on my list, last year on my list I had recommended Ready Player One, which is a book, great book. It's an 80s pop culture, full of pop culture references in this, and there's a whole bunch of games that are referenced in here, and a lot of people have gone back to. I know I went back and played a lot of those old games, either via an emulator or software, that you can get a lot of that stuff. But in that same spirit, I found a whole bunch of other people starting to play retro games, and so I know this year, just recently, Nintendo introduced their NES Classic, totally revamped for real life. I still have one of these, the old ones. In fact, my wife still plays Super Mario Brothers 3. And it's connected to an old tube TV because that's how these things connected back in those days. And she even leaves it on because she'll lose her place in Super Mario Brothers 3. And so it's sitting in my basement kind of off to the side. Well, this is a great one because it has 30 games built into it. And it's got HDMI connectivity to your TV, so it's kind of, if you were a Nintendo person, I know I started out in Atari, and then from Atari I moved to Nintendo, but really great stuff, and I think any retro gamer would love to have this. This is another one, though, that's really hard to find right now. This is a popular one. When they first rolled it out a couple weeks ago, it immediately flew off the shelves. Nintendo says they're going to have more by the end of the year, but you got to look, and you look hard. But the list price on that is $59. Comes with one controller. For another $10, you can get another controller. Definitely get the second controller. But great gift for that environment.
Now, Dave, before you go on, we heard about your wife's favorite game, but what's your favorite game?
So for me, I was always a huge Galaga guy, and so the Nintendo NES has Galaga on it, and even the classic one has Galaga. So I'm kind of old school. The souped up Space Invaders, so Galaga would be my favorite on this one.
I'll give you a good one. That one's a good one. All right, so the second one I have here is, I will admit, in addition to being a geek, I am also, I guess, what you could call an organization geek. My label maker is one of my favorite things I own. My husband hates it. So whenever I travel, or even just in my laptop bag, you always have so many things, usually cords, like we were talking about earlier, USB drives, on this picture, your chapstick, your pens, your style, whatever it may be, they're always just kind of floating around in your bag. So this is one of my favorite things I've gotten. I have one in my laptop bag. I have another one actually in my diaper bag. I have a 15-month-old, and I have one of these that I use to organize all the stuff in his bag. If I could have 100 of these, I'm pretty sure I would. They're great for almost anything, but for this case, primarily to organize your, excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold, primarily to organize your cords and your gadgets in your tech bag. So as you can see here, you can literally put anything in it.
I love that concept, because right now I have 2 pouches that I have full of cables and junk, because I find, and I'm sure you being a Mac person are living this pain as well, but as laptops are getting smaller and smaller and thinner, they don't have any ports anymore. So I don't have an RJ45 for a network connection. I don't have a VGA, so I have a ton of cables now that have to go with me with my laptop, and I like that idea of doing something like that. And this next one up, you really are kind of an organization freak. I am.
That's
one thing about
me.
me.
I'm not gonna lie.
I am, and that's the geeks can be different about that. I am not. My wife would tell you I am not an organizational freak at all. So tell us a little bit about these.
So the problem with having as many gadgets as humanly possible is they all come with cords. And part of my organization is I hate the cords. So like Dave was saying, you've got dongles and different chargers, and looking at my desk right now, I could probably count 40 different cords that I have going on. So these are two of, just the more the stocking stuffer, that's hard to say, smaller gifts, but, the cable clip organizer is just something that I like because I know I have things like my phone charger that I plug things in and out of, and then the cable falls behind your desk or behind your nightstand or wherever it may be, and then you're stuck digging around back there. So this is just a really simple concept that kind of holds your cords. And then, as I was saying, you've got so many cords, and there's so many different things you can use to try to kind of corral your cords. I've tried them all. I've tried rubber bands, binder clips, hair clips, whatever they may be, the ones you twist it around over and over and over and over and over again. And this kind of thing, the gear twist ties is my favorite because it's customizable. You don't have to wind your cord around it 100 times and then your cord's all crinkly, or if you bend it too tight, the cord's not going to work as well. So this one you can really kind of customize how you use it. This is the one that I think works the best to kind of keep all of those cords organized and somewhat in semblance.
Nice. Cool. So next up, if any, you'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard about Stranger Things. Kind of again in the spirit of the retro stuff. It's a Netflix original series kind of a deal, so you'd have to have Netflix to see it. But Stranger Things was a huge hit. A lot of Dungeons and Dragons. Anybody who grew up in the 80s, you'd have all that. This again is in my spirit of you got to be subtle about some of these things. So rather than saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm a big Stranger Things fan," the "What About Barb" T-shirt is awesome. Or a super favorite is the Hawkins Middle School T-shirt, because no one is going to know what that means except for other Stranger Things fans. So, and then the other one's the little pins, trinkets kind of stuff. Friends don't lie. That was a fun quote from there. And mouth breather, all of that's good stuff. But a lot of these things that we're talking about are, we're going to show you a whole bunch of different price ranges, right? For some people, it's the little stocking stuffer kind of stuff. And then we'll get into, as Kristen said earlier, the really, we'll cover the price ranges for sure. But this gives you some things, little trinkety things that you can do as well. Chris, what about your Fitbit love?
All right, so I never thought I would wear a Fitbit on my wrist. I had the clip one for a while, but that's kind of annoying. You got to take it out. You want to see anything. I always saw people with the Fitbits on their wrist, and I said, that's not for me. That's not my style. That's not for me. Then I got the Ulta, and I'm not going to lie. I fell in love. I love it. It's small. It doesn't do some of the stuff. It doesn't do heart rate. It doesn't do how many sets of flights of stairs you've climbed. For me, those weren't important. I am not checking my heart rate on a regular basis. I know I climb a good number of stairs. That wasn't things I was looking for. I more wanted a watch. I like that it does notifications, so I get phone call, text message, and calendar appointment notifications right on my wrist. For text messages, it won't read you the entire message. It'll just kind of give you a scroll of at least who it is and the first little bit of the message, so if it's your friend sending you a funny meme, or someone actually saying like, it's my husband saying, "Hey, I'm at the grocery store. I need you to call me because I need to ask you this actually important question." So I like that. The other thing I really like is that I was able to find a metal band for my Fitbit. So it kind of helped me cross that threshold of it not looking like a fitness device, but it actually looking like, an actual watch. I do have to say, though, I just noticed this morning, this is the exact one that I have, and I noticed just this morning as I was getting ready that some of the silver is kind of, I know it's obviously not real silver, but some of the metal is kind of tarnishing to kind of be that weird orangey color.
Oh, that's not
good.
So
I have had this for about 2 months, and I do wear it every day, pretty much 24 hours a day except for when I shower. So I sleep in it. I do everything in it. Like I said, I have a 15-month-old, so I'm sure I'm a little rougher on it than some people would be. So this one was great for the price point and for the fact that, I kind of wanted to just test it out before I spent a ton of money on it. But I really like the idea that I can still look, when I'm at work, I still want to have it look like a professional watch and still have the Fitbit capabilities. So that was kind of that bridge to cover both of my goals there.
Nice. Next, this actually came from my son. When he's watching movies on his tablet or doing homework, he loves this little fidget spinner thing. I had no idea what these things were, and at first they looked a little goofy, and then I was on a conference call once, and this was sitting kind of off to the side. I picked it up, started fidgeting with it, and it is the most addictive, coolest, irrelevant thing on the planet. It's awesome. And so I had no idea these things even existed. But once you start Googling fidget spinners, it's just something to occupy your hands or your times. And anybody who's got a little attention deficit disorder going, it's a fun little thing to kind of keep you occupied while you're doing other work. So definitely check out fidget spinner. There's a billion of them out there. Some are 3D printed, some are whatever, but it's all good, and you can have some fun with that.
All right, so like I said, if there's a gadget that does something that I want to do, I'm going to use it. So this is the remote wireless digital thermometer that I use. I use it for a lot of things. We grill a lot in the summer. Being in Minnesota, most people try to get outside as much in the summer as possible, considering that we have frigid temperatures the rest of the year. So we grill a lot. We actually have a smoker that we use. So I really like this because our grill is out on the deck. Our smoker is actually on our patio. We can set this. So you set the device near the grill. You've got your thermometer that goes in there, and then the other one is the handheld that you can bring with you. I really like this one for the fact that it has a very low price point, but it also still had a lot of the features. So you can set it to the kind of food that you're cooking as well as how done you want it. It's got a timer, so it will tell you if your temperature on your smoker gets too low or too high. It kind of idiot-proofs it, to be honest. You can kind of set it up and say, here's all the things I want you to alert me to, and set it and let it go. So my husband works from home. He can set our smoker up to go in the morning. It'll alert him throughout the day if temperature gets too high or too low or whatever, and it kind of just set it and forget it, to quote the infomercials there.
Nice. Let's see, next. So this is actually something that, well, no, Kristen, you don't have one of these, do you? Or even the Echo, which shocked the heck out of me.
I don't yet. I'm waiting. So we'll talk a little bit later about another device that Dave and I both have. I'm waiting for the Echo and the Arlo to be friends, and then I will be 100% on board getting one overnighted to me that night.
There you go. Well, so last year, I had the Echo on my list, and I since then have 2 Echoes. And for those of you that don't know what the Echo is, it's an Amazon product, and it absolutely ties you to the rest of the Amazon ecosystem, right? So if you have Amazon Prime, then you get music, you get easy ordering of things. I think anybody living to some degree in the world of Amazon, you want the Echo. In a way, it's a lot like Siri, right? Where you can ask it things. You can say, hey, when are the Green Bay Packers playing? Or hey, Alexa, what's the weather? Alexa, play Foo Fighters. You can, so a lot of those kinds of things happen, but we're starting to see more and more when we talk about integrations, right, and the whole IoT craze that's clearly happening, and we're tying communication to all of these things. The Echo is one that is making that access user-friendly. So there's a ton of different skills that various companies all across the universe have written their products to support with the Echo. And so you can do a lot of that integration. Like if you're a fan of all recipes, right? So whereas Kristen likes to use an iPad for a cookbook in the kitchen, there's all recipes just came up with a skill, so I can say, what are some recipes for appetizers that can be made in less than 30 minutes? And it will give you that, and it will literally walk you through making it. So the Echo is the access to a lot of the other stuff. Well, Echo last year, my recommendation was the big $180 one, which is awesome. It's a great speaker, so for listening to music and those kind of things, fantastic. This one it doesn't have the powerful speaker, so it's not going to be great to listen to music on, but it has everything else. So all of your home automation connections, right? When I come in, I can say, Alexa, lock the house, and Alexa will tell my home automation system to start locking the doors within the house. Or if you have other light controllers, you can have it handle that stuff as well. So a lot of cool different things you can do with it. Right now, I think it's still on sale. At least yesterday it was on sale for $39. It's such a great, easy way to get into it. Again, you do kind of have to, you benefit more by having a big Amazon presence, right? Whether it's, you don't necessarily need Prime, but there's just some benefits when you have some of that stuff. So for $50, it's an easy way. I picked up one of those. Actually, I got it as a bundle with one of my other gifts that I'm going to talk about later. So I now have 3 Amazon Echoes throughout my house, 2 regular ones and 1 Dot, and I absolutely love it.
Dave, do you hook yours up to a Bluetooth speaker, or do you think that the audio in it that works for kind of the everyday use?
For the big one, obviously not, right? The big one is a great speaker in and of itself. The little one, I don't, because where I have it, I actually have the little one in the bedroom. If I wake up, I can use it for voice. Like I can, certain applications I have can speak through it. And I tend to have another music source there for my alarm clock. Actually, I have my iHome, which handles that. So no, I don't, although you can Bluetooth from the Alexa Dot over to a Bluetooth speaker if you want to add that. But to me at that point, you're like, well, if you wanted that, why don't you just get the big, the better option for you. But that's
I actually saw a funny advertisement, I think it was this morning, that you can actually get what they're calling the 6-pack. So you can it comes in a 6-pack, it looks like a 6-pack of pop or beer, and it's 6 dots in a little 6-pack, so you can have them all over your house.
Yeah, a lot of people, I can't say a lot of people, that is the concept, is to sprinkle these throughout the house, and then you have control of your home automation anywhere. And so it's, you don't have to, and the distance on these things are amazing. So even the big one, while I'm playing music, I can say, hey, Alexa, turn it down, and it hears me. So it's filtering out whatever it's doing, and the speech recognition is absolutely amazing.
Not like the old speech recognition I used to have in my car where it never quite called the right person when I asked it to.
Yeah, never. It doesn't work.
All right, so here's my next pick, hence the long name, but really what this is basically a docking station. So as Dave kind of said earlier, being on the marketing team, our whole team actually uses Macs. And the problem, like David said, with the Macs is that you don't have a ton of ports. So that's fine. I'm going to admit I have 2 Macs. I have a home personal one and a work one. So for personal use, it's fine. I can plug in. I don't need to plug in a mouse or a keyboard, so I can plug in my charger. I can plug in my external monitor. I'm good. But at work, I have all these extra cords to plug in. I have an Ethernet cord so I can get on the network. I have headphones. I have a USB. Trying to look here at my thing. I've got my phone charger. I've got 3 monitors. It's just, you've got so much more stuff that you plug in, and so I ran out of ports really quickly. And so I kind of looked around at some of the docking stations. They're really easy to come by for a PC. Pretty much each PC manufacturer makes their own, but they're kind of a newer thing, I think, in the Mac world. So there's a couple out there, some that actually dock your Mac, some that are like a stand. This is the one I ended up picking. It's really small. I can kind of hide it out of sight. It's got a ton of ports in the back. It's got Thunderbolt cables, USB, Ethernet. You can see it's got a couple easy access ports in the front. Yeah, I mean, it makes it a lot easier. So I still have to plug in 3 things to my computer every day, my power and 2 Thunderbolts, but it makes it a lot easier than trying to, okay, what don't I need? What can I switch? Okay, I guess I can unplug one of my monitors in order to be able to plug in my headset, things like that. So it's really made it, is it a need to have? No. For most people, is it a need to have? For me, I think so, 100%. It's more than a nice to have for sure.
No, I mean, docking stations in general become a critical piece of any modern laptop. I mean, that's just, like we said before, there are no ports on this thing, and I think something like, boy, would I really want a hard drive built into that thing? Yet I'm currently looking at my docking station. What do I have hanging off of it? Is a Western Digital My Passport 3 USB 3. So, again, a common theme with smaller and smaller laptops is they have less and less hard drive space. The theory being you're using more cloud storage, which absolutely is an option to do that. But I find that especially with huge files, like I deal in firmware updates and patches, for some of the systems that we work with, and those will be 200 meg, or I'm sorry, 200 gig. And so that's a pain to pull off of cloud storage every time. So I like having it local, and so I think that combination is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, but again, like I said, I'm literally living with that exact same thing, but in separate components. So that's pretty cool.
Well, it's nice too for us because we're not working in like firmware things, but we've got our source files and our design files and things like that. So for me, I still store everything in the cloud, but not until it's complete. So, I can keep my big source files on my desktop or on my hard drive. So when I'm working on them, I'm not constantly pulling them down and putting them back up on the cloud. I can just work on it till it's finished and then say, okay, now I'm going to go and, basically save this out into the cloud so everyone can access it or so it's ready to go in the future. But I'm not trying to do that all day long as I'm working on things back and forth.
So, creatively colored monitor stand.
So the color is not why it's awesome, Dave. Come on now. So as I said, I'm also an organization geek, but I think this is a problem that a lot of people have at work. So I'm fairly tall, meaning that I either sit hunched over my little teeny, my monitor stands that are too low. We've all got junk. We've all got cords. I just talked to you about cords. I just talked to you about this docking station that I have. And pretty soon you're out of desk space. Like, desks are getting smaller and smaller. Most people don't have these huge executive-style desks anymore. And pretty soon you're full out of all your space. So this was something, there's a ton of different kinds of things like this. I more liked this because it came with some of the nice features, and I could get this one in the store. We have a Container Store down the road from us. So it raises my monitors up. I also have a monitor stand, but while it worked for most people, I'm 6'2", so it still wasn't quite tall enough for me for a while. I had it sitting on a old Amazon box from something I got delivered, which after a while, when I had people in my office for meetings, I was like, this isn't super professional looking on my collection of old boxes. Excuse me. So I like it. It raises my monitors up. I can hide my dock underneath. If I need to, heaven forbid we ever write anything anymore, but if I need to have some extra space to write things, I can tuck my keyboard under here. It comes with some organizers if you need that kind of a thing, but I mostly just liked it that it's got the opening in the back for all my cords to go through, so they can just go through there and right down the back of my desk. I don't have to have that mess of cords everywhere. So, yeah, like I said, it's kind of a cheap addition that oddly made everything seem more clean and organized and had more workspace. So
cool. Now here's one actually that you and I both agree on, and I've been living Logitech for a long time because my theory is, geeks, you don't necessarily get to draw the line as to where you stop being a geek. And so for me, again, the spirit of home automation and the man cave, I've got the surround sound, I've got the gaming system, I've got the, and when I presented the 17 remote controls to my wife, she's just calmly looks at me and she's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to use that. I'm like, here, let me play the bank scene on The Matrix again so you can see how cool this all is. And she's like,
right.
I think it's cool, but I'm not going to use it. So originally it was a company called Harmony, and Logitech acquired Harmony, and the whole point is easy to program remotes. You'd go to an app or a website and you'd say, I have this model of TV, I have this model of stereo, I have this model of this, I have this model of that, and it says, okay, great, I know the codes for all of those, what would you like to do? And you can organize actions. And now it's a matter of you push a button and it controls everything that needs to happen. And now with the Harmony Hub, and the Hub's been around for a while, its sole purpose is to connect to your network so that you can use things like apps on a smartphone. And again, I thought, well, do I really want to be controlling my TV with my iPhone? That's yet another reason to drain my battery. But I actually found that to be really handy. especially when I'm talking about events and things, kind of scenes that I want to create. And the thing that I like most is how synced they all are with this. So this is the bundle that I ended up buying, and it's got the remote control that I still use. But as you're making changes here, if you happen to have the app open, it's still doing, it's keeping the app up to date, and everything's just synced together. But because it's on the network, I can also do home automation kinds of things. So again, Alexa, Amazon just announced an integration to the Harmony Hub. They created a skill. So now I can walk into my living room and say, Alexa, watch TV. And it runs all the things that need to happen to make that, make everything turn on and off. So it is kind of, if you're a Star Trek fan, right, and you're wanting to have computer do everything for you and turn things on, turn things off, all with speech, it's a very cool integration. So the bundle that I ended up getting from Amazon had this package plus an Amazon Dot. So that's where I ended up getting the extra Dot, was all of that combo, and I absolutely love this thing. So very cool, and I know you're a fan of Logitech, probably for the same reasons. Because interestingly enough, you are married to a non-geek, which I think most of us geeks are, right?
Yes.
Geeks don't marry other geeks for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why that works.
I think that too much geekiness would just implode the universe, maybe. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah. So I think the Harmony literally has brought harmony to my marriage, and maybe it's done the same for you.
Well, and my thing is not even just my husband, but when you're a geek, self-proclaimed or not, you instantly become the help desk for your entire family for anything technology related. At least I have. So, I get calls from my parents like, well, I got error message 692. What? Like I'm supposed to know automatically what that means and how to help them. So after going to my parents' house a couple times and them saying, oh, can you fix, we haven't been able to watch our cable for a couple days, something's broken. And finding out that, like, really the input got, they had the same thing. They had a DVD player and a sound bar and a TV with the cable box and all these kinds of things. So after trying to talk them through how to do things on the phone, trying to explain from memory what the remotes looked like, I finally said, you know what, it's time. So now they've got the remote. They can hit watch TV. They can hit watch Roku, they can hit listen to music, whatever it may be, and all of the devices come on. The inputs change to what they need to be, and it works seamlessly, and I don't have to, excuse me, I don't have to try to walk them through how to do these things, when they're trying to watch a movie, to be able to get everything changed. So it's a great gift for those of you in your family as well, or friends or wherever, who look to you as their personal help desk.
And so there's a lot of different price ranges with this. If you're looking for something sub 100, Harmony has a remote that fits that. And in fact, I think the Harmony Hub itself, just to buy the hub, assuming you load the app on a phone, I think that's even less than 100. And so you can get that, you can bundle, you can go big. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. So it gives you some pricing options when you're buying for your geek as well. So what about this one?
All right. So if anyone else is like me, you're trying to get in your car, you've got your briefcase, you've got your purse, you've got whatever you've all got. I lose my cell phone in my car every time I get in my car. Is it in my pocket? Did it fall between the seats, wherever it was? And I think nowadays, too, a lot of people have a case on their phone. So the nice thing with this is it's actually a cell phone holder, but it doesn't, you don't have to pry open the holder, the arms on it. You don't have to do any of that. Yeah, it's a magnet. So you put the little, piece in the back of your phone case. It's very thin. You don't see it. And then you actually clip this to your air vent, and then I just basically stick my phone to it when I get in the car. You can still access your charging ports, headphone
enough?
Jacks, whatever. I'm sorry, what was that?
Is it strong enough?
It is. It's very strong. It's stronger than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't slide down.
I like the idea of putting the metal. I assume that's a metal plate of some kind,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that's pretty cool.
And it's nice because the metal plate in your phone isn't magnet, so your keys aren't sticking to it. Just the holder is the magnet part. So, because that's what I was worried about at first. I'm like, is this going to stick to everything? How how is this going to work here? But yeah, for $10, it's, and I think I got mine on sale even for less than that. So this is one of the stocking stuffers. I think my mom and dad both have one. My brother has one. My husband has one. It's great.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Now this one we have some differing opinions on. Actually, I think we came to the same conclusion. Ring was the big product this year, right? And I would say in general, video has become pervasive in either the home automation, the consumer. Everybody's talking about Ring, and so very cool concept with that. I personally didn't go with Ring. Mainly because I wanted something broader scope than just my front door, the doorbell, the video doorbell. So I started researching some things and ended up coming up with the Arlo. And so for me, Arlo Pro is what I used. It's the newer version, just kind of came out. It's got rechargeable batteries as opposed to the old Arlo is not. You can get into it for fairly cheap. It comes with a camera and a base station for $250. The thing that I like about it is it does give you 7 days of free cloud storage, recording storage. But one thing I've noticed with my battery life is on those things is the more that you're recording, the shorter that battery life is going to be. So Arlo is really kind of focused on motion detection, and generically speaking, will only record while if there's motion. And the cool thing is you can customize all that. You can say, when do you want to record? Do you want to do time of day? Do you want to do geofencing so that as you come in, as you leave the house, maybe it starts recording things, or maybe or the opposite, right? It just kind of depends on what you want to have happen. The goal is not to record video all the time because the battery life on those little cameras just isn't that great. But you can get bundle kits all the way up to 4 or 5 different cameras and kind of strategically placed throughout the house, and it just uses standard secure Wi-Fi, which I think is a cool thing. And so you ended up going that route too, but you didn't start there, right?
I didn't. So I, much like you, did a bunch of research, and I came down to the Canary and the Arlo, and I went back and forth, and I thought I'd settled on the Canary, and went to tell Dave about my decision, and then he started telling me that he had the Arlo, and started, it's always nicer when you can, kind of why we're doing this webinar, when you can talk to someone who's used it. You can read the reviews, you can read the questions in the forums and watch the videos, but until you've actually touched it and used it and interfaced with the app and set it all up, that's a whole different thing. So I had my Excel document of the facts of the two of them, and I went in to tell Dave all about how I was going to get the Canary, and I'm not going to lie, he talked me into the Arlo. So I got one of the bundle packs that Dave was talking about. I got a pack that was the hub and 4 cameras. I think it was $675 at Best Buy. I got it, I think, like a month ago. But so I use it to do the kind of the home security aspect of it. So I have one on my front porch, one in my garage, one on the main floor of my house, and one in the basement. My husband travels a lot for work, and so it just kind of gave me that extra level of security. I didn't want to pay for an ADT or that kind of a thing and have to punch in a code every time I went in and out. I think those work great for some people. It just wasn't really what I was looking for. So yeah, so we've got it. Like Dave was saying, there's a couple different ways to use it. I'm currently using mine based on a schedule. So my husband is crazy. He gets up at 4 a.m., so mine shuts off at 4 a.m. And from 4 a.m. until 10 p.m., it just monitors our front door, mostly because my husband works from home and his office is in the basement, and he can't always hear the doorbell. So this way he can get the notifications if a package is delivered or things like that, excuse me, on his phone. And then the schedule from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. is it notifies us if there's movement anywhere throughout the house. And the Arlo itself comes with push notifications and email notifications, but I actually did some custom recipes with, I guess they call them applications now, with IFTTT, and so now mine sends me a text message and calls me actually if there's motion detected in the middle of the night, so that way I can actually have it vibrate on my Fitbit to wake me up ideally if if someone breaks into our house. So.
And so that was one of the reasons why I went with Arlo's, because of their integration to IFTTT.
Yep.
IFTTT.com, like you said, it's a great integration site, kind of leveraging the web services, RESTful APIs that so many different, I'll call them websites, but it doesn't necessarily have to always be a website. And can connect things together. So I do that same deal where I'm integrating back to my home automation system, which is HomeSeer, who also has an integration to IFT, so I can trigger a whole bunch of different events to happen because of that. So that probably the biggest reason I got it was that it was integratable with all the other stuff that I have, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, now I'm addicted. I keep looking at all the new ones I can make. So I think my next one is going to be, I'm going to get some of the Philips Hue light bulbs, and so rather than calling me and text messaging me in the middle of the night, I can either in addition to or instead have my bedside lamp turn on if we were to get, if it gets motion notifications in the middle of the night. So
I think that's cool. So now this next one, I was kind of surprised, right? Because most geeks would go with Nest. And I am a huge Nest fan. I'm actually somewhat disappointed because I had to replace my furnace last year, and the furnace has a proprietary thermostat that came with it. So I literally had to get rid of my Nest, and it was the saddest day of say my life. It probably wasn't quite that, but I was very disappointed to lose my Nest. And you didn't go with Nest. Explain that little bit of weird logic.
I know. I surprised a lot of people. So this is actually, like David, we kind of mentioned before, I'm not married to a geek. My husband is probably one of the most anti-technology people that I know, in the sense that he hates technology change. When I come home with new devices and he knows it's going to have to change something in his life, it sends him to the roof. He hates it. So I tried to get him convinced that we should use the Nest. He wanted just the standard, when I want to turn the heat on, I hit on. When I want to turn the heat off, I hit off. So this was our agreement. I was assuming it was going to be our agreement for a little while until I got him used to this, and then I would upgrade to the Nest. But actually, this has done exactly what I want it to do, and I haven't really even felt the need to upgrade it yet. So, it's the standard thermostat. We built a new house 2 years ago, and so I just asked the HVAC people. It was like an extra $15 for this one versus the regular one. So I just asked them to install these instead. Basically, it just connects to my Wi-Fi, and so there's just an app on my phone that I can control it. So, excuse me, I can set up my schedule on my phone instead of sitting there pressing the little 3 buttons on the thermostat, which isn't a huge deal, but it made setup a lot nicer. But the thing that I really like about it is that I can control the temperature from my phone, not just when I'm at home in my Wi-Fi, but anywhere. So, for example, we went to visit my in-laws in Wisconsin for Thanksgiving. So when we left, I set my heat to go down, to 60, 55, whatever I set it down to, so that I didn't pay to heat my house the whole time we were gone. And then when we left Wisconsin, it's like a 5-hour drive, so I turned the heat back on, and when we got home, it was, nice warm 72 degrees in there when we got home. So for me, this has been working so far. It might be one of those things where once I convince my husband to let us get a Nest, that then I'm like, how have I lived without this whole time? But for now, this is working great for us. It's much easier, I think, to customize from the app, and I can simply turn it on and off. And for the most part, there's someone home at our house most of the day. So being that my husband works from home, and so this has worked great for us so far. But again, I haven't experienced the Nest yet, so maybe I'm missing out and I just don't know it yet.
But like I said, the big thing is what I liked about the Nest is the learning side of it. I don't have a very set schedule as to when I'm there and when I'm not. So
Right.
I like the Nest connects to my Nest Protect smoke detectors and kind of has motion built into it. So
Yep.
I don't have to say, oh, at 7 a.m. turn the thermostat down. it doesn't work like that in my house. So I don't benefit from a schedulable thermostat. I need something that's going to adjust to my pattern. So when all of a sudden it detects no motion in the house, it automatically turns the temperature down and starts, some machine learning in that sense. So that's kind of why I like the Nest. But I think if you're, the more structured you are to a set schedule, I think that works out pretty well.
And the fact that there's usually someone at my house, like almost, being that my husband's there for work, I'm there after work. We're not jet setting too much on the weekend. We have a small child, so we're maybe going to day trips, but we're not gone a ton on the weekend. So for us, it works really good.
Oh, that's perfect. Kristen, in the spirit of time, I'm going to skip one of yours and go straight to another one here, and we might have to weed a couple of these out to finish up on time here.
Nope, that's fine.
So those of you that are in web services, right? When you think of the cloud, a huge player in the cloud is Amazon, right? And I'm not talking Amazon the store. I'm talking Amazon Web Services. And there's a lot of huge businesses that have built their entire industry around Amazon Web Services. One of them is Netflix, right? If you're into Netflix, they are fully built on Amazon Web Services. And it's a great way to kind of slowly get into leveraging as much or as little of their cloud as you need to build your application. Well, Netflix created this application called Chaos Monkey because their theory is the best way to avoid failure is to fail constantly, which is a really cool concept around resiliency and how you're building your infrastructure. And so, I've got a link to the article that that they talk about Chaos Monkey and what it's all about. It's actually one module in this big, again, what they call the Simian Army. And Chaos Monkey is just a little piece of, it's an app that runs in Netflix's environment. So this is Netflix only. And it just randomly shuts off things. It just turns stuff off. And this helps Netflix figure out where they had areas that weren't as redundant or resilient as they thought they did, and so they could improve their software. So if you're a cloud person, you're a Chaos Monkey person. You just are. Otherwise, I'd question whether you really understand cloud or not. And so what's really cool, I found these socks. They're not technically Chaos Monkey socks. I think they're monkey business socks, but I wear these all the time. I actually have the ones in the middle, the bright orange ones. And I wear those and I tell people those are my Chaos Monkey socks. And again, geeks are going to be like, oh, that is so cool. Other people are be like, hey, nice socks, and just move on with their life, and I'm totally okay with that. So I'm a huge fan of my monkey socks, and specifically my Chaos Monkey socks, because it shows my love for true born in the cloud applications and SaaS models. It's all awesome. So very cool stuff. So you, as a kid, you're training them young. I mean, for me, boy, it was I think the Apple IIe is what I had when I was not quite. I wasn't 18 months, but as a youngin, that's what I did. You found something else.
Well, so it happened by accident. I always thought before I had kids, when I saw parents with their kids on their iPhones at restaurants, I was always like, I'm not going to be that parent. Then I had kids. Then I discovered why we need these things. So like I said, perfect example, we just went to visit relatives in Wisconsin for Thanksgiving. It's a 5-hour drive, and my son is 15 months old. He doesn't do so good when we explain to him, it's okay, we're going to Grandma and Grandpa's house. We'll be there soon. Not so much. So we actually had a Amazon Fire first generation tablet that we'd gotten when that was the cool thing to have. As a geek, I had to have it. And then not long after, I got something that was an improvement to that. So we had this tablet laying around. So I thought, you know what, for 20 bucks, my son can use this tablet. So, we certainly only bring it out on the special occasions, but this saved our drive and sanity to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And it's just the case to protect it so that when he throws it down the stairs, which he has already, it doesn't, it doesn't shatter and destroy itself in one day. So it's something that also I think at this day and age, kids start using tablets in school in kindergarten. So we figured at least let him be familiar with it. You know, I'm not letting him play games on it all day long. We mostly use it to watch videos on when he's in the car, things like that. But it's been a lifesaver for us. So
yeah, I can see that for sure. Even even with kids who are not 18 months, mine is I have a senior and a sophomore in high school, and they live on their tablets. Granted, I don't need the case for it, but it's yeah, it's makes everything a much easier task. So one of the things that the thing about geeks are into the details, and admittedly, they're probably differing details. You know, like Kristen's an organization freak, I'm not. But one thing that I did this year, which just fits beautifully into the geekness, is I took a craft cocktail making class. Right, it was just a Saturday afternoon at one of the local craft cocktail bars. And basically it was an advanced bartending school for a handful of drinks, and just talking about all the details and the science behind all this stuff. And I really kind of got into it, and you know, it makes parties more fun. It when instead of just serving beer and wine, you know, you can actually do a little. If you remember the movie Cocktail, you know, start getting into more of the fun side of this. And so one of the first things I did was I bought a book, Liquid Intelligence, and it is so cool because it takes a scientific approach to mixing cocktails, and I love the fact it gives you experiments. It talks about how to cool down a drink, whether it's little ice cubes or big ice cubes, and the dilution ratios. And they say, okay, I want you to make 2 drinks, one with big ice cubes, one with a little ice cube, stir it for the exact same amount of time, or the same amount of get it to the same temperature, and you find out the dilution ratio, all that kind of stuff. It's a scientific way. It's a geek way to do it. So I love the book. The next thing that I found, actually somebody had recommended this to me last year after they got my list, and they're like, oh, you have to try Perfect Drink. And Perfect Drink it's a scale. That's all it is. It's a Bluetooth scale that Bluetooths to your smart device, either an Android or an iPhone, or an iPad, right? And it just says, okay, based on what you're wanting to mix, pour it in. It tells you when to stop, because there's a little line that on your iPad that'll go up as you're pouring, because it's got granularity down to it. On the Perfect Drink 2, I think it goes down to a half of a gram, whereas the Pro goes down to 0.1 grams. And bottom line is that's more than enough granularity to accurately pour a drink. And it's another cool geeky thing, you know, where if people want to make a drink at a party, they don't have to, you know, you don't have to be the bartender the entire time, and you can make some pretty cool stuff. You can make a collection for a menu, you know, that people can choose from based on maybe what you've got for that. So maybe for the holidays, but this is something that there's just something cool about in the automation of some of this gadgetry that I really like. It's cool, it's fun. Obviously not for everybody, but you know, if you have a geek, there's a good chance that they might like that.
Dave, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't make us drinks for the webinar today.
Hey, that would have been a little weird.
It's 10 a.m. It's fine. All right, so this one is pretty self-explanatory. You know, I used to have a tripod for my camera. I have not used my camera in years. So I finally was like, why don't I have one for my phone? As if any of you out there are parents, you probably know that if you ever want to take a family picture, one of you usually can't be in it, unless you have a selfie stick. But the other fun fact of the day is for my husband's job, he has to do a lot of social media videos. So I was stuck being the iPhone videographer. And between the two of those, it just got really old. So for 15 bucks, I got this nice little tripod. It's very similar to the Gorilla Pods in the sense that you can wrap it around whatever you want to wrap it around. But the nice thing is it comes with a little Bluetooth remote, so you don't have to set the timer. You don't have to try and reach your arm out. It's just get ready. You know, you can spin it so you can see who's in the picture, and you know, we could take our own Christmas picture at home this year if we wanted to. So, but it's been really handy. We've used it a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest.
We're going to cover one more, and I'm going to take another the last one here, and then we're done. We're gonna wrap up. But in the spirit of cooking, like if you're interested in buying the item that Kristen looked at, or if you're hardcore, you want books. Again, in the spirit of geekness, anybody who is a cook or into cooking and a geek, you know who Alton Brown is, right? Alton is he was big on a show called Good Eats on Food Network. And it was, again, all about the kind of the science of cooking, and he's just been great, and he's still has a bunch of shows and some podcasts and all kinds of cool things. He's got a book out, Everyday Cook. It is awesome, and it is literally just for everyday cooking and all of that kind of fun stuff. I'm also a fan of Cooking for Geeks. Again, kind of it takes a deep dive scientific approach. The Everyday Cook is more of a normal cookbook. But Cooking for Geeks is almost like a lab manual that you can learn about how different things interact and what's the difference between the different flours and how much gluten is in it for the consistency and the proteins, and a lot of cool stuff that's in there. So I'd certainly recommend that. But we have a lot of, hopefully you got some good ideas from this, and a lot of people were asking on the side, hey, are we going to send this out so that you get your the links maybe if you're going to buy those? Absolutely, we're going to send this out so you'll know where we got these items from. And again, clearly this wasn't a commercial about Arrow, right? We said that in the beginning. This is about we are geeks. December's kind of an odd month for doing our typical instant insights. We're really just trying to show you guys some of the ways that you can think about geeks and what some of the technology is out about that, and kind of show you maybe the more personal side of some of the people that you've and have talked to within Arrow. So thank you so much for joining, Kristen. Kristen, I appreciate your additions to the list. I think that it makes for a very well-rounded, all the way around, for different perspective, different price points, everything. So thanks for joining, first of all. It was awesome.
Thank you, Dave. I'm excited to be here and reach out to our fellow geeks in our own little geeky world.
Cool. And thanks, everybody, for attending. I'm going to pass it back to Kelly. I think Kelly's got some closing announcements and ways that you can follow us in the future.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dave. So thank you, Dave and Kristen, and thank you all for attending. This was a really great way to end 2016, and as Dave said, this is, kind of outside of our norm for our Instant Insight webinars, but we will be back in 2017 with, more content and focus back on Arrow SI, but we're glad you could, kind of take some time and join us and have a little fun. If you do want to be included in our future webinar invitations, please look for the link to join our invitation list and the follow-up emails that we will be sending out with a copy of the recording as well as the slides. So we hope you enjoyed today's presentation, and we hope you'll join us for more Instant Insight webinars in 2017. Have a great day.